Hi guys, just wanted to give you a guide on sort of the fastest way to farm YUJIN and which amorphous materials you're going to want to prioritize. So I'll just sort of run through the key parts and sort of how you want to go about farming them. So first things first, as with basically all farms, you want to farm these top 3 components first and get them crafting. They have an 8-hour craft time, and so whilst these are crafting, you can go out and farm the code, and that'll save you a little bit of time all in all. And so for the first part of the cells, you're going to want to farm pattern 85. The reason why you want to farm pattern 85 instead of 45 is 45 only has a 3% drop chance for the cells, to be a complete waste of time, whereas pattern 85 has a 20% drop chance. You don't want to farm pattern 114 because, for one, the Frostwalker is an extremely difficult boss, especially in public lobbies. You're going to be wasting a ton of time if you try and go through that route. Also, pattern 114 only has a 10% drop chance for the item, so half the drop chance of if you were to use pattern 85. And then you don't want to farm for pattern 90 because, well, you can't anymore. Unfortunately, it's been replaced by a different amorphous material that no longer contains YUJIN cells. And so for the next part, the stabilizer, you're going to want to farm pattern 79. Reason being is pattern 79 is actually one of the quickest amorphous materials to farm for. It's about 5 minutes per run, and of course when it comes to the amorphous materials from the sort of dungeon missions, you can actually get 2 amorphous materials per run, so you're talking 2.5 minutes per amorphous material, making it a really quick run. And on top of that, Devera is a super easy boss, super quick boss, probably the quickest hard mode intercept boss that you can do. There's just so many builds where you can kill Devera in under a minute, and so it makes it a super quick farm all in all. You don't want to farm pattern 95 because it is around a 10-minute farm for that amorphous material, and Swamp Walker is a slower boss, so just much slower farm all in all. And then the reason why you don't want to do the void fusion reactors is because you pretty much always want to try and avoid void fusion reactors when there's an intercept boss battle instead. Reason being, a void fusion reactor has 2 layers of RNG, so you've got the RNG of whether or not you get the amorphous material from the outpost mission, and then you've got the, of course, RNG of whether or not you get the item out of the amorphous material. Whereas when it comes to the sort of intercept battles, you are guaranteed the amorphous material from the corresponding mission, and because you can double up how many amorphous materials you get, it just makes it a much more consistent farm. And whenever you can cut out RNG, you want to do that, because again, much more consistent that way, and that's going to mean that your farm is much quicker that way. If you are someone who really just does prefer to do the void fusion reactors, or if you're getting bored farming pattern 79, pattern 111 isn't the worst farm. It has okay shards in organic as a primary. It does have inorganic as a secondary, which is by far the worst shard to farm for, but because it's a secondary you don't need too many. And on top of that, the boss is actually a very good quick boss to do. It's just a couple of yellow health bosses that you can kill in a very short amount of time. So far from the worst, but definitely not as quick as if you were to just go through pattern 79. And then I would say just completely avoid pattern 65. It is a horrendous boss to fight. It has 3 immunity phases, 1 immunity phase that has sort of the spheres, and then 2 immunity phases where it has sort of the barrier around it where you have to hit the little points on it to destroy it. So don't even waste your time on pattern 65. And so for the third part, the catalyst, you're going to want to farm for pattern 57. So reason why you want to go for pattern 57 is, again, going back to the intercept battles versus void fusion reactors, less RNG, more consistent farm. But on top of that, pattern 57 has a 20% drop rate for the catalyst blueprint, which is the highest drop chance of all the amorphous materials here. On top of that, Executioner is one of the easiest hard mode intercept boss battles. A little bit slower than someone like Devera, but definitely not a slow one all in all. Pattern 125, whilst it also has a 20% drop chance, Molten Fortress is just a much more difficult boss. You're going to waste a ton of time trying to do it in public lobbies, and so you are just much better off going for pattern 57. And then pattern 71, again, that whole thing of void fusion reactor versus intercept battles, but also pattern 71AA only has a 10% drop chance for the item, so you just be wasting even more time by doing that. And then pattern 33 only has a 3% drop chance, so wouldn't even touch that at all. And then lastly, the code, you're going to want to go for pattern 120. There is no intercept boss battle option here, so it is just only void fusion reactors. And 120 has some of the best shards to farm for. It is monomer and inorganic, which are the easiest to farm for because you can just use the bunny cave over here, which is the absolute quickest shard farm location that there is, so it's nice and easy to get these shards. And on top of that, the boss isn't terrible. It's not the best boss. It does have an immunity phase, but it's an immunity phase with sort of the minions spawning in rather than the spheres, and it's not too tanky a boss and doesn't do too much damage. You don't want to go for pattern 80 because whilst it does have okay shards, the boss is terrible. You don't want to waste your time doing that. And then the same for pattern 64, horrible boss to farm, don't waste your time doing that. And then the same also goes for pattern 100. It's good shards, but the boss is bad. So in terms of the pain point items, the first one being the divided plasma battery. This is actually quite a nice easy one. All you want to do is you will go on normal mode, the asylum in Agna Desert, and you do want to make sure it's on normal mode. And all you'll do is you will run through from the spawn, you'll run to a room where multiple wave of enemies spawn in, and then at the end a yellow health boss will spawn in who drops this item. And so what you do, you'll kill them, and then you just keep doing that on repeat until you have the amount of items that you need. The only thing I'd say is do this on private rather than in public. With it being a normal mode, it's nice and easy, so you don't need to do it in public for that reason, but also you don't want to sort of be backing out and ruining the mission for other people. I will put some footage to show you how this is sort of done. And then the next pain point item, the pure energy residue. So this is just simply through encrypted storage boxes, and so I would hop on Enzo if you have them. And my preferred spawn location is up here in defense line at this spawn point. You'll sort of turn to your right as you spawn in, run down the sort of little tube, and then you'll come into an open room where there are 2 potential spawn points for encrypted vaults, and again you'll just sort of farm that on repeat. It's nice and easy because the vaults are right next to the spawn, so you can't really go wrong with this. Now for the next pain point item, the anode ion particle, you're going to want to go over to here in fractured monolith, and it's this mission here, the large supply transport point. Unfortunately, this item is a bit of a pain. This is the best mission, but even still it's around about a 5.5–6 minute farm, and you're looking to get around about 6 to 10 per run. So it is going to take a little bit of time, and so what you'll do is, again, I'll put some footage, but you'll start the mission, you'll sort of run through until you get to the point where you have to destroy 7 Kuiper shards, you know, where you sort of stand in the circle. You'll destroy 6 out of 7 of them, and then you pretty much just wait around in that room as the enemies spawn in, and you get 5 yellow health bosses spawn in during that time, and they each have a chance to drop 2 of the item. And then with about 30 seconds left, you'll destroy the last Kuiper shard, and you'll sort of just restart the mission and do that on repeat until you have all the items that you need. So yeah, I hope that helps. Thanks.